Good morning and happy Monday. Hope everyone had a great weekend and welcome into this episode of Mizzou Daily. Like we said on Friday, we're going to be diving a little bit into the combine results as well as taking a little bit of a look at the first days of spring ball for the Tigers. And of course, if you were paying attention at all to the NFL combine, you probably saw Toriano Pride Jr. have a heck of a 40-yard dash, and we're going to talk about him first. He, of course, ran a 4.32 unofficial into the combine, 0.06 seconds faster than the next fastest corner at the combine, which was Georgia's Daylen Everett. He also repped up 13 reps on the bench press. Vertical jump was about 38 inches, and the broad jump was 10 feet 8 inches. 3-cone drill, 7.2 seconds, and his 10-yard split for that 40-yard dash, a little bit over a second and a half. He didn't participate in the 20-yard shuttle, so we had that quite often for the Mizzou. Players are participating in the combine. Zion Young didn't take part in any of the drills. Neither did Josiah Trotter. So Keegan Tross also did not run a 40. So there's a lot of players for Mizzou, the 6 guys, that didn't really participate in the drills. But Toriano Pride, he participated and he showed out for sure. Great to see him. 4.32 is an incredible fast time. Definitely rising his draft stock. We were talking earlier, it wasn't really likely that he was going to get drafted. But the chances of him getting drafted absolutely skyrocket after a performance like that in the combine. We'll take a look at Chris McClellan as well. He measured up at 6'4", 313. Pretty strong there. 40-yard dash was a little over 5 seconds, which is pretty fast for a guy that size. Benched 25 reps at 225 for the bench press. And, of course, just about a 30-inch vertical jump and a 9-foot broad jump. 10-yard split on that 40-yard dash, 1.08 seconds. He was flying out of the gates. Pretty cool to see Tigers showing out like that. And another guy that participated in drills was Kevin Coleman Jr., of course, the transfer from Mississippi State who led the Tigers in a bunch of statistical categories at wide receiver. He had a great day on the combine list, 38.5 inches on the vertical, 10 foot 6 inches in the broad jump. And so he also was a 4.5 40, which for a slot guy, not too bad. He's more of a smaller guy. He's only about 5'10", 180. So for him to kind of have those numbers is pretty strong. He also put on a pretty strong performance in the Senior Bowl. If you remember, he was juking people out of their socks, making some great catches. Size doesn't really matter in terms of football player for that guy. He's shown that he can make it work, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got drafted, maybe a day 2, day 3 guy, but definitely going to be someone who you will see come off the board on one of the days of the draft. So pretty cool to see. And then transition a little bit, talking about Keegan Tross. So Keegan went on Sunday. He was the last of the 6 to go, and he talked a lot about during his media days at the combine. Is something that they do quite often is they talk to the players. You get to hear from them kind of what their experiences are. Keegan Tross bounced around with a lot of different teams. So he ended up at Mizzou, and he basically said, I love Coach Drinkwitz, which is really cool to see. As a Missouri Tiger fan, as a Mizzou alum, when one of your best players who was only there for 1 year says, I love this coach, I love what this program has done for me, is really incredible to see, and it gives you a lot of confidence going into the next season as well, because Keegan Tross was probably the best offensive lineman in the SEC, one of, if not the best, was the highest rated on PFF. So for him to put in a performance like that and say something like that about the Missouri Tigers, about Coach Drink, really cool. And he participated slightly in the combine, didn't really do a whole bunch, but production score was 82. That is second in the combine rankings according to NFL.com. So very strong. Their athleticism score was 71st. Total score was 74th, which ranked 11th. Came in at 6'5", 311 pounds with 32 3/8 inch arms, because we know how much arm length means now and for offensive linemen after the whole Will Campbell debacle in the Super Bowl and what that's kind of meant. But pretty strong measurements there for Mr. Tross, 6'5", 311. Pretty strong prospect grade as well. Definitely things that he could develop into a starter, if not a day 1 starter. So really cool. And listening to Keegan talk about Coach Drink was really interesting. He talked a lot about how he was able to develop not only as a player, but as a person. And for him going up in practice against, the Zion Youngs, the Chris McCullens, Josiah Trotter all coming on in some blitzes. He was able to pick those up, and that was really, really cool to see him talk about. And for him to say that the term players coach is a perfect label for Eli Drinkwitz, fantastic job of him being able to relate to these players is really, really cool. I mean, Coach Drinkwitz definitely doesn't look like a football player. He's a smaller guy, kind of looks like a nerd. Some people call him Dorkowitz, but definitely not a dork to me, definitely not a dork to Mizzou fans. And it's really, really cool to see him talking about this. And one of the quotes that I thought that really stood out was he said, he puts himself in our shoes pretty well and understands the needs of his players, make sure things are good for us and the wellness of his players. He's basically putting himself in a college athlete's shoes, which you can, I mean, even graduating not too long ago, it's kind of hard to put yourself back in a college person's shoes and kind of experience what they're going through. He's well removed from college, and he's trying to do that, trying to get the best out of his players, weathering this NIL storm that has become a new thing. Like I said, it's really, really cool to see him talk about all of that kind of stuff as well. So he actually wasn't always tabbed as an NFL prospect. Keegan Tross kind of came onto the scene pretty late, came onto the scene at Mizzou, basically, in terms of that draft stock. So he credits Eli Drinkwitz for a heck of a lot of that. And then we're going to transition into some cool stuff, talking about spring ball, QB battles, and more. So, according to the reporters that were at the first spring ball practices, it seemed like the Mizzou quarterbacks participated in a whole bunch of different drills, and Austin Simmons went first in the drill. We don't exactly know what that means. We probably won't know what that means until September, if we're being honest. But Austin Simmons did participate first in all the drills, which is great to see, considering he came into the transfer portal as a no-contact tag, ended up a Missouri Tiger, but of course, Zollers took some reps as well. Gavin Sidwar took his third turn. Brett Brown also in the mix there. So it was Austin Simmons first, Zollers second. Pretty cool to see. What kind of everyone expected was that Simmons would have this starting job, and Zollers would be his backup, but for that to be a little bit more confirmed in terms of, getting those first reps. We, like I said, really won't know exactly what this means until September, but pretty cool to see that Austin Simmons is jumping in and doing well. Another thing we talked about earlier was Blake Craig. Craig, the leg, he is back in action. He was present and was healthy. Didn't attempt a field goal, but he was working in some snap formations. Of course, Tigers also practiced on Saturday, but these reports are mostly from Friday because that one was open to the media. The next one that is open to the media is going to be on Tuesday, so we'll probably recap that one on Wednesday, I would say. It's going to be pretty later in the day on Tuesday, so we'll take a look and see what that's going on Wednesday. But Blake Craig was also there. So Demarion Folks, who was Mizzou's primary kick returner last year, was fielding kickoffs. He also joined Donovan Olubade and Caden Lee. Pretty interesting stuff there. Also, another big thing was Josh Atkins. We had talked about him last episode, the transfer coming in from Arizona State. So Coach Drinkwitz says that he's anticipating that Atkins is going to play some right tackle, compete with Logan Reichert. And so Logan battled some injuries last year, but Josh Atkins, he started a whole bunch of consecutive games. He's about 35 plus now in terms of consecutive starts. So Atkins looking like he's going to have a good shot at picking up that right tackle role, which of course would be Austin Simmons' blind side, which we talked about last episode. It's like it's all coming together. It's like they're listening to me. Probably not, but pretty cool to see that and see that maybe we could see Josh Atkins maintaining that blind side. And then we're also going to finish things up by talking a little bit about kind of the returners in spring ball. It seemed like a lot of the returners were shouldering the load of mentoring these younger guys, which you love to see. I mean, you kind of expect it from a team like Mizzou that has a lot of old returning guys, but for the returners to step up, shoulder the load, Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts taking on some of the younger running backs under their wings was really cool to see. And the question of Zollers, and it seems like him and Austin Simmons have had a pretty good relationship. Some of the clips on Twitter, they're having fun. They're laughing. I mean, it's football. Who doesn't love football? Who doesn't love football in the spring? It was gorgeous weather outside. So it was pretty awesome stuff there. And also feeling like Santana Barner is going to be a returning starter for us, said Coach Drinkwitz in a press conference. So we're finding out more and more each day about what this team is going to look like in the fall. But those first spring practices, going out of the way, and you get the first reports on Friday. Don't get another media availability until Tuesday in terms of the practices. Probably learn a little bit more of that, but the closed practices is where the work really gets done, you could say. So pretty cool stuff there, and excited to see what comes out on Tuesday. And for Zollers to be a pretty strong teammate in this situation is awesome to see, because he started the last few games of the season, and in his head, he's like, oh, I did a good job. I could probably do this. Then they bring in Austin Simmons, a highly touted quarterback from the transfer portal. He seems to be, understanding that very, very well. And so Ahmad Hardy saying that Mizzou is a brotherhood was also really, really cool to see. All-American running back, probably the nation's best running back last year besides Jeremiah Love, who had an incredible combine. Jeremiah Love did. For him to say that and be committed to the Mizzou game. He was at the basketball game. He loves being a Missouri Tiger, so that's awesome to see. And we'll definitely have some more spring ball updates later this week. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Mizzou Daily. Have a great rest of your Monday.